I just finished watching the Love Yourself series and it was beautiful. It really was. It was so damn good. In this video, I'm going to be doing my personal review and my personal theory of what's going on in this series, and also maybe a little bit of how it relates to the other two series. Just to warn you, I did watch it again and I wrote 6 pages worth of stuff here. As you can see, my horrible handwriting. Look at that, you guys. I got that, and I got that, and I got this. Ignore that. I got all. So this might be a long video. I hope you guys enjoy it. Sorry if it's too long. If you want to turn the speed up, go ahead. Maggie's saying turn the speed up. All right. So I'm going to start from the very beginning of the Love Yourself series and go all the way to the end. Okay, so from the opening sequence, the very beginning of this series, we're in the stars, a galaxy, universe, whatever, and it's coming down. I believe that symbolizes is being transported to another universe, a mirror universe, a what if universe. What if things were different? How things could have been and how they could have been different from what we've seen in the past 2 series. And I believe that translates through this entire series. So in the beginning, with what Jin is saying, it seems like he's trying to put across that there are many different paths in life, and all those paths determine our outcome. You know, every little fork that we come to and different things happen, or things happen to us, or we do things to people, or whatever it may be, those paths lead to different outcomes. So that's why in the beginning, we're being transported to this other universe of what if those paths that they chose were different? What if they chose different paths? What would be the outcome? We then see Jin and a train going in between Jin. Jin has a train going in between him, as I was saying, and a girl on the opposite side of that train, which could symbolize things being in the way of that path. So like I was saying earlier about the paths that lead to different things in life, we have things that unfortunately get in the way of the outcome that we want. And that's what that train, in my opinion, represents. Those bad things that happen to us that make us go down the path that we don't want to go down, or lead our life into a place that we didn't envision. That train going by and then revealing the girl is showing us what if that part of the path, what if that part of our life wasn't blocked? What if that thing didn't happen to us? Maybe he'd get the girl. Maybe he'd have a better life. Maybe it'd be brighter. Which, by the way, the cinematography in this is so much brighter than the other ones. The filter that they use is totally different, which is really cool. And there is just this bright, airy feel to this entire series that I really love about it. I mean, most of the series, I'll say. So I want to say before I keep going, there are multiple female characters within this series that are introduced to a lot of the guys. Not all of them, but a lot of them. Now, I'm unsure of what exactly I feel those girls represent. It's either a love interest and, you know, having a better life, or meeting someone that you love or that you're really interested in. Or it could be metaphorical, like an angel, right? So have you guys ever thought of like the devil on one shoulder and the angel on the other shoulder? Angel's telling you to do the good things and the devil's telling you to do the bad things, right? What's right and wrong, the good and the bad. So they could represent that, or they could also represent your muse, which also is going to lead you to doing good things and possibly a better life. So if you are interested in music and you want to play piano, just saying, maybe you can follow that and let that be, you know, your muse. Let that be the thing that leads you down the good paths in life. So after Jin has his love interest, I'm going to say, walk past him and drop that book, there's that temptation to go towards that path. And then we see the train going by him again, which I believe is just it's a reminder that those things happened in the past series. It's a reminder that there are blocks in the paths that we want to choose. I'm going to say paths a lot because I really think that that's a really strong thing that's going on, a really strong message that's being represented within this series. There's a lot of messages going on. There definitely is about tons of different things, but that's what I felt about the train. So I did read Jin's diary that came out. Someone had translated it, and I also read the posters as well, translated. So on the 14th of June, we see Jungkook in a wheelchair. So not only did Jin's diary confirm the car accident that happened within The Greatest Moment in Life, but also it's confirmed here with him being in a wheelchair. Obviously some time has passed since that's happened, so that was like confirmed with this, as well as Jin's diary. We see him start to get frustrated. Like at first he's kind of just like looking around, but he wants to move, right? He wants to get going. He's pissed that this happened to him. You can tell he gets at first he seems like normal Jungkook kind of thing, but then you can tell he gets a little bit frustrated, and then he's stopped by that girl, and it seems as if that distracted his mind. It pulled him away from those bad feelings and it calmed him down. Then we see Suga sitting in front of a piano, which is obviously about Jungkook. He has this expression on his face like he feels like shit. He probably knows what happened to Jungkook, but he doesn't know if he can go see him. He doesn't know what he can do about the situation, right? Because that fight that they got in, and obviously there's turmoil there, but obviously they love each other, they still care about each other, but there's that thing that's separating them. So then we're confronted with a woman, another woman, who stops Suga from grabbing his lighter, from smoking up, right? From grabbing his cigarettes, turning to his addiction in order to handle his emotion or to take away the bad things that are going through his brain, his frustration, all those things. That's what he would rely on. Then you have this woman who's either, like I said before, an angel, a muse, or an actual love interest, right? Take away that lighter from him. This is the part I'm not 100% sure on, you guys. Then she takes a Sharpie and she writes Y.K. So I wrote this down. I'm not sure if this is what it means. I wrote down, does it mean think of Yon, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly? I'm probably not. Suga and Gook, right? So think of the two of you together and think of what this could do to the relationship. Think of how he would feel about you smoking cigarettes, or maybe that's what they got into a fight before because of his addictions and his problems with his anger and all that kind of thing. So think about what he would feel. Think about the two of you. Think about your relationship and how it's not together right now, and let that be your inspiration to not rely on your addiction and to not smoke. And then a very interesting thing happens. Then goes over to a guitar. She throws up a lollipop. Like, instead of smoking, use a lollipop. Now, you guys, we've seen, I'm like going crazy with this shit. We've seen the lollipop being used like multiple times. So Rapmon uses it, and it's also related to smoking. In the last series that I just checked out, the most beautiful moment in life, Rapmon throws the lollipop down to the ground, it turns into a cigarette and hits the ground. And then we've also seen V multiple times with a lollipop in his mouth. Now, whether or not that's related, I don't know, but it could be. And it's interesting because it's almost like it links those two, because they're in pairs, really. It's like it links those two together with Suga. It's very interesting. So then on the 5th of June, Rapmon puts a lollipop in his mouth. It literally goes right to that scene. So obviously there's that connection there, right? And he's observing a very cute girl. I just gotta say, she's a cutie. At that moment, it's almost as if they're saying there's more to life than addictions or vices that you can brighten up your life with and conquer those dark forces with. And like I said before, the filter is just so bright and beautiful. And when he sees this girl, it's like his emotion is totally changed. And you get that feeling with the cinematography as well. It's very, very cool and very powerful. Another thing that we see, so we see this beautiful girl and we see these people walking by and their faces are blurred out. Now, that is a thing that they do in Asia very heavily, like in order to protect people's privacy and to just be respectful towards them, which yes, that could be it, but I really don't think that's why they did it. I think is supposed to represent is the fact that Rapmon saw nothing else but that girl at that moment. You know, when you fall in love with somebody or something, you get entranced with them or it. So being a musician, you might fall in love with your guitar, and that's the only thing you want to see. That's the only thing you want to hear. That's the only thing you want to do. Same with the girl. But in all seriousness, I really think that's why they blurred out those people's faces. It's to represent Rapmon being entranced with that girl. So, okay, in these 3 series, they kind of touch on, again, so many things, but like one of the things is definitely troubled youth and how bad things happen to them, but unfortunately people don't see that they are still good kids. They just had a bad hand dealt to them. You know what I mean? So this girl that Rapmon's like fantasizing over drops her belongings and he runs up and helps her, picks up the things for her. And I think that's, again, a way for them to comment on, yeah, this guy's had a troubled childhood or he's done some bad things or whatever, but he's still a really good person. He ran up, he picks up her things for her. And I just think that they're trying to show people, like, don't judge someone because of their past or because of the way they look or because of some of the things they might have done. You know, good people do bad things sometimes. Nobody's perfect, and we all make mistakes. The majority of us are good people. There's a lot of good people out there that unfortunately don't get the credit that they deserve and don't get looked at as a good person. And I think that's what they're trying to comment on with this. So from there, it's totally linked, because then it goes on to the 18th of June, which leads to V. Again, it's like they're touching on that, the fact that all these kids are great kids. Like, they're good guys, like with big hearts, because V sees this woman stealing. So what does he do? He goes over, he sees that she doesn't maybe have a lot of money or something, and that's why she's stealing. He goes to pay for her things that she stole, saying, you know, that he understands, he gets it, and that he's a good person for wanting to actually pay for those items. You know what I mean? Just the fact that he was willing to do that is really touching. So they're in a 7-Eleven, and when they walk outside of that building, it says no sweat, no beauty, 11-part class. Now, granted, that could just be something that's on the building, but I highly doubt it. Not exactly sure what the 11-part class is. It might have something to do with, maybe it might be simpler than I think. But the no sweat and no beauty, I think what it's trying to say is, without troubles that make you stronger or hardships that help us learn and understand things in life, it's on a building. So it's metaphorical. So these things build upon an already beautiful person. They make us stronger. They make us aware of that girl who's stealing something because she doesn't have the money to pay for it. V gets it because he's been through hardships. He's been in maybe not the same exact situation, but he's been in situations that, you know, life can get hard, and he understands it. I really think that's what that building is trying to say. A lot of people, without actually experiencing certain things, just don't understand. They you know what I mean? Like, oh, why would somebody steal? Well, maybe they don't have money for food, or maybe they have kids that, you know, they can't get food for or something. You know what I'm saying? And unfortunately, all people don't understand that. I'm sure all my dreamers understand that, because you guys are beautiful, open-minded people, and that's what I love about you guys. And I share that with you. I need water, damn it. This is a lot of talking. I hope I'm not being too boring. I'm just trying to be serious. I don't want to be joking around. You know what I mean? So let me dive back in. So on the 31st of May, J-Hope and Jimin, the scene shows J-Hope in front of a mirror practicing dancing, which I believe in my reaction, I said that it reminded me of, I think, what did I say? Boy in Love or something like that, but it's actually Danger. And it's creepy, man, because I went back while I was writing all this up, and like the Danger is like the really sad, empty version of it, you know? It's very dark, dusty. It's sad. It's got the sadness to it, but he's still, you know, doing what he loves. He's dancing, he's trying to figure things out. But in this scene, it's so much brighter, and it does have this overlaying, like a little bit of a depression thing going on, like just like the icing on the cake, but the whole cake itself is actually very like kind of happy. It's got a happy thing going on. You know what I'm saying? So the love and the bond between Jimin and J-Hope like kills me. It makes me smile like right away, the way that they look at each other and they just smile. Like, these dudes are brothers, and that was totally real. You know what I mean? They're great actors, but you can just tell that they love each other, and I love that, man. It's just a really nice thing to see. So again, we're introduced to a possible love interest, or whatever the girls represent. She comes in with a cake for J-Hope, and Jimin obviously thinks this girl is attractive, right? So it's either that there will be a love interest forming, or that is forming, or an unrequited love, or a love triangle. Maybe even a love triangle. Girls, don't go crazy writing fan fictions. I know that you're probably already thinking in your mind some crazy wild stuff with Jimin and J-Hope, but I'm trying to be serious with this. Sorry. Anyways, so we then zoom in on J-Hope's face with the candle and the cake, and he seems so happy, and it's just instant, like he's so distraught, and the sadness. I wanted to comment on their acting because damn, it is friggin' good, and like it hit me really hard, like him just frowning instantly, and his sadness looked so friggin' real. Like when he was doing that, like actually performing that scene, I bet you he had some kind of thought in his head that made him really sad, because it just seemed so real to me. We learn a little bit more about J-Hope's history, right? We hadn't really gotten that from the past two series, in my opinion. A lot of the other guys we have, but not really J-Hope. And in this, we do get it, which I want to touch on later too. But it goes way back to his childhood, and his mother abandons him, which made me cry. Because that shit's fucking sad, dude. And that shit is real. That stuff happens. And it's just a terrible, terrible thing. I knew right away what was going to happen when I saw his mother tell him to put his hands over his eyes. I was like, oh, fuck, dude, this is gonna suck. And again, throughout these series, what we're touching upon is social issues and things that go on in people's lives and how they can affect them. So this is one of those issues, right? If your parent leaves you, you're gonna be freaking heartbroken, right? Like, I don't know, man. It's a really freaking sad thing that happens to people, and I'm glad that they touched upon that. It's not something you see a lot of people talking about that, and it happens a lot, which is crazy. So the next part, Jin, he has like a little part where he's talking, and it's an interesting part. It's like a breath. They're taking a breath at that part. He's basically saying to take a moment to breathe, to take in nature and try to relax, try to breathe. I want to say that breathing is so important, and you know, I've told you guys in the past, and if you're new, welcome to the Dreamerverse. If you want to be a dreamer, you don't have to be, but if you want to be, click that subscribe button. But if you're new to this, I do suffer with depression. I do suffer with anxiety. And these are things that I've just really discovered recently. I'm 27 years old. I've been dealing with this stuff for a very long part of my life. I would say since I was maybe 8 years old. I'm going to go back probably around that far, maybe even a little further back. But I'm just now realizing that because my depression hit really, really hard last summer, and it was freaking terrible and scary as hell. But I'm good now. But one of the things that I learned is how important it is to breathe. You know, I see a psychologist or whatever you want to call it, a therapist. Tom is his name, and he's a really, really great guy, and he helped me out so much and made me learn so much about myself and learn so much about little things that are really important. Like without him, I wouldn't have realized that I had depression or anxiety. Like the severe anxiety thing, I never realized I had that problem. And maybe I'll talk about that in another video sometime if you guys would like to talk about that. But one of the things that he taught me is how important it is to just take a breath. It seems like it's hard, right? Because if any of you out there has anxiety or depression issues or self-doubt or image issues or anything like that, what it is you have, and I was going to go into this later, but I'll say it now. There's this thing called the pain body, right? It gathers, Tom taught me about this. It gathers all these negative emotions, and it's like this force inside of yourself that attacks you. So when your anxiety gets going, you know, you have all these thoughts going on through your head. It's really hard. It is friggin' hard, and I know how it is. And I just want to say I love you if you go through that. I love you, and please listen to this if you don't already know. It is super important to breathe. Breathe through your nose and let that air go through your stomach and then breathe it out. You know, not super deep breaths, but deep enough. And it's hard at first, but once you get your focus onto your breathing, you can disperse all that negative energy. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to go too much more into that, but basically like meditation, all that kind of stuff is very, very important and extremely helpful. So breathing, Jin is talking about just breathe. And I found that so powerful that he was saying that. And I really think that's a strong message and a very important message that I really think they're trying to get across with this, you guys. Now, before I keep going on, I do want to say, like, I've gotten a lot of comments that my reviews of these series have been very different from other people. Some people like have theorized that Jin is dead, or that Jin is the only real person, or things like that, which are really cool theories to have, of course. But I do feel like these guys are trying to get across social issues, mental illnesses, and things that are like still shunned or frowned upon that are scientifically proven, and yet still people are negative about them, and they shouldn't be. And I think it's an extremely important message, and I think that's what they're trying to get across with these. I think that's the most important thing, you guys. I really do. I think the story that they're telling is absolutely amazing and beautiful. It's this huge mystery, and it's just really cool. But what makes it so beautiful is its message, and I hope that more people can pick up more on the message than the story. I think the story is really beautiful. It's written so well, and the mysteriousness to it, and getting people like, oh, what does this mean? What does this mean? I love it too. It's really great. But I bet as artists, they would want us to focus more on, let's get these messages across. Let's get these messages out. I think it's so damn cool, man. And I really, really appreciate that they're doing that. And I really strongly believe that's what they're doing. Let me know in the comments if you think so too. I just feel like that's what they're trying to get across. But again, let me also clarify that art can be taken in so many different ways. And that's one of the most beautiful things about art is your own interpretation. So this might just be how I relate to this story. And I do relate to this story. And I do relate to some of these characters, I'll just say that. So it could just be that aspect of art, which is another beautiful thing about art. Okay, so another thing that Jin talks about and reflects on is how people that are in our lives can directly influence our lives and outcomes that happen within them. Again, referring back to paths and roadblocks, if that's what you want to call them. People can be roadblocks in our lives. They can also be positive things though. So they can be negative things and positive things. And I think that's something you gotta really consider when forming relationships of any kind. I think that's really true. He also says at one point, even if this were a dream, this is where I choose to be. Dreams are obviously something I'm all about and that I believe in. And, you know, like going for your dreams, believing in yourself, and just, you know, there's this unfortunate stigma of like, oh, you're dreaming too big. Don't go for that. Go to college, get a regular job, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, those things are important, but don't give up on your dreams, man, because you're going to regret it like crazy. And sometimes we wish our dreams were real because of how much better they seem from our real lives. That's why I always say, go for your dreams. And it's okay to dream because it expands your mind and it makes your life better. You know, and I think that's, again, another really important message that they're trying to get across, and also a message that I try to get across too, and hopefully I do. I mean, we always try to have fun on JG Reviews and on Maggie's Kitchen Playground and all the stuff that I do. We try to have fun, but like, for instance, having you guys send in, my dreamers, I love you, having you send in video requests. I think that's a big step for all of us, right? Getting in front of a camera and putting yourself out there. It's nerve-wracking, right? And like, you're like, oh, I don't know. What if I don't look good? Or what if I say something stupid? Or what if somebody says something in the comments bad about me? Or somebody makes fun of me? Or what if, you know, and what that is, you guys, is anxiety. I think that doing that is a step forward and, you know, conquering that anxiety a little bit, conquering that self-doubt that we all have, you know what I mean? It's okay that we have that. But so when you do that video and you get it out there and it feels great, I think that you guys will realize, okay, I did it. You know, you'll have that relief. You'll have that like, okay, cool. This dude's going to do something that I want him to do and that I requested, and he really appreciated it. And I get lots of love. I got lots of love in the comments or whatever. You'll see that, yes, sometimes you'll get the negative comments from negative people. But like I was saying earlier, and what I think they're trying to say in this is that there are going to be positive people and negative people in your life. There's nothing you can do about that besides just going towards the positive. Do that for yourself and love yourself, man. That's another important thing that I want to talk about, but I'll talk about it later. I am getting my water refilled right now because I have been filming for I don't even know how many hours now, so I'm starting to like not really lose my voice. It's just I've got a dry throat. I'm a singer, I don't lose my voice. Ah! There, that lightens up the mood a little bit. So this one killed me, you guys, and I didn't realize it until the second time I watched it back, which is we then go to a scene where V takes his phone. It took me back to prologue because you have that scene. He's got a cell phone and he's like washing himself off, right? And all that. So you have that. And then you also have, it recalls back to the Wings series as well with V. You have the guy who takes the water bottle, the cop, and he takes a swig out of it, and V has to turn his face because it reminds him of his abusive alcoholic father. And V says he needs to make a call, and he knows who he's going to call. It's interesting how those three series, or the two series before this, I'm sorry, kind of go in with that one little tiny clip, and I love it. And I was like, ooh, when I saw it, honestly. And then it's interesting because that all relates to each other, right? And then right after that, it goes to Rapmon. It's gotta be, I mean, that's not just a coincidence. Small little part, but it relates to so many different things. It's cool. Then we see Jungkook and his love interest or angel or muse, or maybe his, I don't know. It might be a mental thing that she's supposed to represent too. Like the real us, our consciousness. You know, maybe that's what it's supposed to represent as well. She pulls out the earbud out of his ear, which from that you can tell that they've developed a relationship. So whether it's a real girl and he's become close to this girl, or it is his consciousness or his inner self and he's become closer to himself and started to learn more about himself, which is an important thing, or started to love himself, which is representing the girl. She takes the earbud out. It means that she knows him, and it means that she might know about Suga and the things that happened because she wants to get his attention to the girl playing the acoustic guitar. So he starts to walk to the girl with the acoustic guitar. Now, I'm not sure, but it goes to a clip of Suga and Jungkook playing piano, like being very happy with each other, maybe writing a song. Earlier, we saw Suga with that girl, and he's around the piano trying to write a song or playing a song. I wonder if he was playing that song. I also wonder if that girl learned how to play that song, and she was playing that song at the hospital that he was at. Now, maybe I'm thinking too much into it, but it kind of, if you link it all up, it kind of seems like that might be the case. And then, you know, Jungkook's mouth drops to the floor and he sees the lighter on her guitar, which I found very interesting. Great imagery and just pretty crazy. Then after that, you're struck with this really, really uplifting music. Like, it sounds beautiful, by the way. The music in this is gorgeous, just like the other series. I like the fact that these didn't have any vocals like in the music. I think that was kind of a cool, very interesting choice. The piano sounded great, absolutely fabulous. The strings sounded great. But so you're hit with this uplifting music, and it's playing with J-Hope and his possible muse, right? It's just a really beautiful scene and very interesting scene. And it just has this really huge dynamic to it that I love. So then we get into a scene with V walking on the train tracks with whatever the girl's supposed to represent, whether it's consciousness or a love interest or a muse or whatever it may represent, which could be all of those things, to be honest. I think they're trying to represent the paths and go back to the train being in the way of the paths, and he's walking right on that line, right? So he's walking in between the paths, so you can go this way or that way. And he's even at a point, I believe, if I remember correctly, where the train tracks can switch. I just think there's purpose to that, and I think it represents, maybe since he's found that, maybe he will go down the right path, maybe. And some of my theories might, and explanations or thoughts, might collide with each other, and I'm sorry if they do. I'm just trying to get all my thoughts out on it, you know. So then we go to the 30th of August, and we're back to Jin. He struggles in front of a mirror to find the right outfit. So I think what this represents is self-confidence and self-doubt, and again, anxiety, because it can take place in that. Dr. Joey's here, or Dr. Gero, I mean. You just see this frustration, and he's just like, oh man, this shirt's not good enough. No, this one's not good enough, you know? And that's a normal thing. We all deal with that, right? But some of us deal with it to a greater extreme, and I think they're touching on that with that. He also at one point acknowledges the lily flowers tipped over on the table next to him. I think the lily flowers represent the guys. I said that in my last series review, and they also represent like youth or someone dying, or they represent a lot of stuff. Go back to that, you can see what I'm talking about. But the flowers are laying on the table, which I find really interesting. They're not broken, they're not just petals on the floor, but they're in that weird, awkward, you know, they're not standing straight up, they're not on the floor, they're in the middle. So again, it's almost as if we're being brought back to the paths concept. You know, which path are you going to take? Are you going to put the lily flowers back standing up straight, or are they going to fall to the ground? Which is pretty heavy imagery if you think about it in relation to these stories. And I think that middle ground can also represent like kind of a limbo in your dream, like just wanting to live in that dream, not wanting to stand those lily flowers back up, but also not wanting them to fall to the floor. That's metaphorical, if you know what I'm saying, or symbolic. He quite possibly very well knew that Jungkook was at that hospital, but felt like because of that fight that they got into, he couldn't go there to see him, but was hoping that he would contact him, having seen that girl play there with the lighter and playing that song that they wrote together. I really think that might be it. So he starts getting frustrated. And what do we do when we're frustrated? We turn to our vices, right? He picks up his cigarettes. And I was like, oh no, he's going to go back to his addiction already, you know? And he looks at him and he like laughs at his addiction and throws it away. And I loved that imagery, man. It was like he won there. You know what I mean? He won for a second. He was like, you know what? F you. I don't need that shit. I'm going to be good. I'm going to be patient, and I'm going to wait a little longer. And then he did get the call eventually, but unfortunately we don't know who he got the call from. And I don't think it was Jungkook. My God, you guys, I still have 2 more pages left. Okay, that's not bad. I'm so sorry if I'm boring you guys with this one. I know I'm not just flying. Like, usually I watch it and then I do my review right away. But since this is supposedly the last of this story, I just wanted to take everything into account. I hope you guys still like it. Hope you still like this review. So I wrote this part in red because I did. We then get some text and a message basically from Jin, and he reveals the sad truth of this series. Basically that it's only a dream, and that this whole scenario that we just watched is a what if scenario. What if we took a different path? What if this was a different universe? What if we didn't have these troubled pasts? What if we found someone that we could love? What if we didn't get into a fight? What if we quit our addictions? I really think that's what it is. So at one point he says, within that text, he says, afraid to be loved for who I am, which is again like a self-hate thing, which we saw with him standing in front of the mirror, or self-doubt and severe anxiety. That's what I was talking about earlier, the pain body. It's this thing inside of all of us that we all have, that's this negative energy that just wants to attack you as much as it can. It's a weird thing, but it's real, and there's books about it too. And that is the pain body, and these negative thoughts, the anxiety, the depression, all these things are really, really driving forces towards like addiction or suicidal thoughts, obviously. So I'm just putting that out there. I'm just saying. After he says that, he starts to see these fantasies fall apart. He starts to think that even if we took different paths, if all of us were able to take different paths, bad things would still happen to us. Jimin is left alone, which is horrible for someone with depression. And I commented on earlier, I really think Jimin represents depression in this. I think they all represent different social issues or mental illnesses or things of that nature, but I do think that they're actual people in this story. I know some people will theorize that they're not, that they're just those emotions, but I don't think so. I think they cleverly all represent those different emotions, but I do think they're actual people. That's just my personal opinion. So then V finds love with someone, but she ends up being not good for him, really, in the fact that she's also into those troubled ways of, you know, spray painting things. And again, we saw how she was stealing things. So unfortunately, they could have helped each other. And a lot of times that does happen, but unfortunately they didn't help each other. They went back down that bad path, that bad road. Then this part's really sad too. So Jungkook goes back after healing from his car accident. He's all good. He can walk again. Like, he's happy. He's like, yes. Goes back to the hospital with flowers, most likely to give to that love interest that I was talking about, that person that he became close to. And unfortunately, her bed is empty. And I think what happened is she lost her battle with whatever her sickness was. I don't think it's as simple as just, oh, she's not there. I think that she unfortunately lost her battle to whatever sickness she was dealing with, and it's very unfortunate, man. I think Rapmon's is a little more simple, where he's just afraid to love and afraid to go into that path, take that life, take that road. I think he was still afraid to do it. Suga eventually gives into his anger and picks up a new addiction, which I believe is alcohol, which we kind of saw that he might be going down that road in certain parts of these series, but he definitely did in this, for sure. Just the way that he was acting and like stumbling around and stuff. I think, oh, this is sad too. I think J-Hope realizes that he can't replace his mom. He lost his mother, and she left him. And I think he maybe was thinking that that void could be filled, and then he realizes that it can't be filled. Now, take in mind, people, I'm not saying that in actuality that can't be filled, or actuality like that. I'm just saying that I think that's what is happening here, which is really freaking sad. And then he ends up hitting the girl on accident, but that's weird, man. I don't know. Man, my throat's very dry. Then we go back to Jin, and it seems like he is like, okay, he fights his anxiety a little bit. He takes a breath, you know, lets his depression or anxiety or his pain body go away a little bit, so he can dream for a little longer. He can be in that dream moment for a little bit longer, the good stuff, right? So we see him, he meets this beautiful girl, and her smile takes him over, and you can just see he's so happy. But unfortunately, like that, his mental illness sweeps in, and it just crushes his dreams. It just takes it all away from him. So then he goes and this is a quote: "If we could turn back time, where would we go?" So again, referring back to the different paths that we can take in life, or the different things, the different cards that were dealt, the different hands that were dealt. If we could go back, you know, if they could go back, where would they go back? As a group. And this is why I think they are a group. I think they are real people. They love each other. They are a family. They are not blood relatives, but they are a family. They formed a very strong bond, but they also know that they all have these hardships and they've all happened at different times. So even if they all went back to one time, one of them is going to be hurt in that situation. So it's a really unfortunate thing, and I really think that's what they're trying to say here. You know, bad things happen, and it sucks. There's nothing you can really do about it. With all the different paths and choices that they made and things that happened to them and the things that they've been through, it's hard to say when would be a good time to go back. That would be good for all of them. And the fact that we were introduced to J-Hope having his mother leave him at such a young age, there really is no time that they could go back far enough to where it wouldn't happen. I think that's why they introduced this in this. I think that's why that quote is in this series. I think that's why they waited to do that with J-Hope in this series. I really do. Because how far back can you go? If you want everyone to be happy within that brotherhood, that family that they have, you couldn't, because their troubled times and the bad things that they've been through are all at different times in their life or currently going on, you know? So it's a bummer, man. So then we go to the 30th of August. Jin wakes up from his dream in front of his mirror, right? Not an actual like sleeping dream, but like daydreaming. And I think that during this part, it's like his depression won, or whatever, his mental illness that he's supposed to be representing. The lilies are together, and I think the lilies are the guys. I think they are representative of, I think the lilies represent the guys. So he puts on his cap and his dream ends at that point. But his final thought that he has is acceptance. I really think that all of this stuff that led up to the very last words of this series is accepting certain things that happen in life. For instance, I have this trouble with my anxiety where I fear the future like crazy and I dwell on the past. It's hard not to, but I think what this is trying to say, it's a little bit of an uplifting message and a good thing to practice. I think that all of us need to practice is accepting that those things have happened to us and we can't change them. It's more the fact that we accept that we can't change those things and we can't predict the future. And I really think that that's the strong message, and the last message that they're trying to get across is acceptance and accepting these things. But I also think they're trying to get acknowledgement of mental illnesses across, acknowledgement of youth, of troubled youth, and how, again, good people do bad things sometimes. You don't know everyone's story or why they did certain things. And I think there's a lot more to it, but I am running out of energy, and I am also starting to get a sore throat because I've been talking just on this for an hour, and I already shot 3 or 4 videos today, and then Maggie and I got to edit all this. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this review, this theory or theories. I know it might not be the most popular theory out there or the most like crazy one, but I really think that the messages, like I said before, are really important, and I think that the guys would agree with that and think the same. I love you guys so much. If any of you have any of those issues, which we all have issues, there's so many people that you can talk to. You can talk to me if you want to, man. I'll talk to you. I just want you to know that you're loved, that it's normal, and, you know, therapy is okay. And it's good for your brain, man. If you're feeling sick, if your body is hurting, this is actually something that somebody very close to me told me, and that's why I ended up really going to therapy, is if your body's hurting, you go to the doctor, you go to the hospital, you break a bone, blah, 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 blah. You go see somebody about it. Our brains are so complicated. Our thoughts are so complicated. And it's okay if you're having a little bit of trouble to go see someone and talk to somebody, because all it's going to do is help you. And you deserve that. I love you guys. I'll see you in the next video. Leave me some love in the comments. Leave me some thumbs up. Share this video, man. If you liked my review, please share it on all your BTS fandom websites, Amino app, or any of that stuff. Share it like crazy. Get the Dream Yume page, you know, some love, some more subscribers. All right, you guys. I love you so much. I really, really do. My throat is bothering me. I'll see you in the next one. And until then, annyeong.